I was in the middle of making coffee when Cindy entered the kitchen. She was carrying her duffel bag and that small weekend suitcase, the one she normally took on trips to her parents' house. Her face was calm, not upset. "I think I need a break," she said, pausing a few steps away like the kitchen floor might break if she crossed it. "A break from what?" I asked, even though deep down I already knew. "From us," she replied. "From the marriage? I need time to figure some things out. A few weeks, not forever." I looked at her for a solid moment. She wasn't emotional. Her voice didn't tremble. It was steady, rehearsed even. Maybe not the words, but definitely the moment. She braced herself for pushback, but I didn't give her any. "All right," I said, moving aside. "No questions?" She asked. "No," I answered. She blinked, almost surprised. Maybe she thought I'd argue or offer up some plea or say something dramatic to change her mind, but I had already sensed a gap between us. It had crept in weeks ago. She was still physically here, but only halfway. Her silence at dinner sometimes sounded louder than a car horn. She made her way to the front door. No embrace, no goodbye fight, just a quiet "I'll be in touch" tossed over her shoulder, and then she was gone. The sound of the lock turning behind her echoed. I stayed where I was for a while, not really thinking, just existing. That was Saturday. By Sunday, the silence in the house doubled. Not in a painful way, just in the way an empty space feels when it's no longer shared. The first week passed on autopilot. I got up at 6:15, hit the gym, showered, buried myself in work and emails. Her slippers were still by the bed. I didn't move them, not to pretend she hadn't gone, but because I didn't feel like reorganizing life just yet. I needed to see what life without her really looked like. Surprisingly, it wasn't unbearable. The silence didn't close in like I expected it to. On Wednesday night, my younger brother Jonathan stopped by with a pizza and a six-pack like we were back in college. He looked around. "You doing okay?" "I'm good," I told him. We didn't dive deeper into it. Just watched the game and cracked jokes. The next morning, I noticed something small but loud. Her favorite mug was missing from the drying rack, the red one with the chipped handle. She must have taken it with her. And that said everything. People don't pack their favorite mug if they're just going away for a short break. That Friday, I stayed late at the office. Came home to a clean kitchen and reheated leftovers. Put on a movie I knew she hated. Slept like a baby. No crying fits. No dramatic moments in the shower. Just quiet. Not the kind of space she needed. Something else entirely. Something I didn't know I'd been needing, too. It was the 12th night since she'd gone. I only remember because I had just poured a drink and was halfway into a documentary about animal migration. Those slow, reflective ones Cindy used to say made her feel oddly emotional. Then my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. It was 11:40 p.m. She hadn't called or messaged once since the day she left. I let it ring twice, then answered. "Hey," she said. Her voice was softer than normal. Not shaky, just slower, like maybe she'd had a glass of wine. Maybe two. "Hey," I replied. There was a pause. "I wasn't sure I should call," she said. "It's late." I didn't respond. "I remembered that documentary you watched last year," she went on. "The one about Arctic wolves? You told me the alpha pair mates for life. Remember that?" I didn't answer. "Are you calling to talk about wolves, Cindy?" She let out a quick breath. "No, I don't know. I've been thinking about us. The quiet here, it doesn't feel like the quiet at home. Yours feels more deliberate." I stayed silent. "Do you miss me?" she asked. That was the real reason for the call. That question, a test? "I don't know yet," I told her. Another long pause. "Okay," she whispered. There was music playing faintly behind her. Probably one of those old playlists she always turned to when she got nostalgic. "You don't have to be cold, Martin," she said. "I'm not being cold," I replied. "I'm being honest." She didn't say goodbye, just ended the call. I stared at the screen for a bit, then scrolled her contact and hit delete. Not because I was angry, because I didn't want to keep holding room for someone who wasn't sure they wanted to return. That following Monday, I ran into Ava from work in the elevator. She's in sales, sharp and direct in a way that tends to unsettle most people. We rarely spoke outside of meetings. "You got a minute?" she asked. "Yeah, sure." She hesitated. I wasn't sure I should say anything, but I saw Cindy this weekend. I didn't react. "Where?" "Riverfield Music Hall, Friday night." I nodded. She likes that spot. She wasn't alone. Ava added, watching me closely. There was a guy, gray jacket, glasses. They looked close. How close? Leaning into each other, sharing a drink, arms touching, smiling like it meant something. I nodded again. "Thanks for telling me." "You okay?" "I'm fine." And I meant it. That night I got home, pulled out our wedding album, sat with it for a few minutes, then slid it into a storage bin in the closet, not out of anger, just done pretending those pictures still belonged to this reality. Then I opened her side of the dresser. A few of her things were still there. A scarf, a bottle of perfume, an old hoodie. I folded them into a small box, sealed it, and left it in the garage. No note, no drama, just action. She asked for space, and she used it not to reflect, but to experiment, to explore someone else. The next morning, I drove downtown and filed for divorce. No second-guessing, just a quiet, overdue choice. She said she needed a pause from the marriage, but I was starting to understand something deeper. She didn't pause us. She paused responsibility. Exactly 3 weeks to the day she left, Saturday afternoon, I came back from a run. The doorbell rang. I opened it. She was there, hair tied back, hoodie on, no makeup, but it wasn't her look that caught me. It was the way she stood, like she wasn't sure if she should step inside or walk away. "Can we talk?" she asked. I didn't move, just let the moment settle. Then I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, like someone re-entering a dream they weren't sure still welcomed them. Her gaze swept the living room like it had been altered somehow, but everything remained exactly as she left it, except for her. She stood still in the center of the room, arms folded. "I've done a lot of thinking," she said. I didn't respond. The past 3 weeks have been a whirlwind, confusing, but eye-opening. I thought space would help me sort things out. But out there, away from you, the house, our life, I realized how much I took it all for granted. Still, I said nothing. She continued. "I miss feeling safe with you. I miss the routine, the quiet, even our small fights. I miss everything. I made a mistake. I want to come back." I gave a small nod, walked down the hall, and returned to the box I had packed earlier. I placed it gently on the floor, between us. Her eyes fell to it. Her voice cracked. "What's this?" "Your stuff." I replied plainly. From the bathroom, the dresser, the nightstand. She gave a slight shake of her head, like she could undo what was happening by sheer will. "Wait, what are you saying?" I met her eyes. "You asked for space. This is what came of it." She took a hesitant step forward. "Martin, please, take it," I said. "Your things and go." Her lower lip quivered, but she didn't cry. Not yet. She hadn't realized that the door she thought she could return through had already been closed. She didn't reach for the box, just stared at it like it was undeniable proof of something she wasn't ready to face. "I didn't think," she whispered, voice barely audible, "you'd stop loving me so quickly." "I didn't," I replied. "I just stopped waiting to be important. I was lost, Martin. I needed clarity. Everything felt stuck." I stepped closer. My tone was even. "So instead of talking to me, you disappeared and filled the silence with someone else." Eva told me everything. Cindy's mouth opened slightly. "Eva?" "She saw you. Riverfield Music Hall. Friday night. Said you didn't look like someone searching for space. You looked comfortable." She swallowed hard. "It wasn't what it looked like. You don't understand. He wasn't who I thought he was. It wasn't serious. He's gone now." I nodded. "And now you're here." Silence. Then she whispered, "I never stopped loving you." I didn't respond. Just looked at her. Not with anger. Not with coldness. Just with finality. "You missed the routine," I said. "The comfort. The calm. But you didn't miss me." She opened her mouth, but closed it again. I was building something real with you. I said, I didn't know you only meant to borrow it. And that's when the tears finally came. Please don't do this, she pleaded. We can fix it. No, I said calmly. You don't get to shatter something, try the exit, and then come back pretending it's still home. I never wanted to hurt you, she said, her voice breaking. But you did, I replied. An intent doesn't erase harm. She reached out for my hand. I stepped back. This house, I said quietly, was ours. Now it's just mine. And the peace inside it. That's not something you can take with you. She looked like she wanted to scream, but couldn't find the breath. Her shoulders trembled. I motioned toward the box. Please. She finally moved. No begging. No final plea. Just a slow realization that her temporary departure had cost more than she thought. A week later, Jonathan gave me a call to give me a heads up. Cindy asked about you, he said. She hadn't said much, just the basics. Wanted to know how I was doing, if I was seeing someone, questions that didn't have answers anymore. He didn't tell her anything. I appreciated that. There was nothing left to explain. Before ending the call, Jonathan paused. You don't sound angry, he said, or even sad. Just finished. He was right. I wasn't grieving anymore. No tightness in my chest. No late-night thoughts spinning. It wasn't resentment. It was clarity. The kind that comes when you finally stop justifying your value to someone who refused to recognize it. By then, the divorce papers were already signed. Clean, no disputes. She hadn't asked for the house. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe because she knew I wouldn't give it up. We divided everything else like adults. No yelling. No messy courtrooms. Just paperwork and signatures. When she walked out of that office, she took her copy and never looked back. In the weeks that followed, I began to fill the space in new ways. Joined a weekend basketball league. Grabbed drinks with coworkers, went out with someone. Her name was Julia. Smart, straightforward, no games, just an easy, honest connection. No one brought up Cindy, and I didn't either. Every now and then, though, an old friend or shared acquaintance would message me. She asked about you. She still loves you. She regrets it all. I began giving the same response each time. Please stop telling me. I'm not listening anymore. Not because I was angry, but because it no longer mattered. Cindy had made her choice, and I had made mine. The difference, mine was final. You can't rebuild something when only one person is carrying the bricks. I wasn't going to be the only one holding the weight anymore. The silence she left behind used to echo. Now it just sounded like peace. 3 months later, I got an invite to Michael's wedding. A mutual friend from college. I showed up alone. Navy suit, clean shave, no expectations. About 20 minutes in, I spotted her. Cindy. She stood near the bar, glass of white wine in hand, politely laughing at someone's joke. Her hair was shorter. She looked thinner, maybe just worn out. She noticed me before I could turn away. Our eyes locked. She didn't smile. Neither did I. She didn't approach. And just like that, the moment passed. No wave, no scene, just a shared silence. Heavy with what might have been, and lighter because it never would be. Later that night, I stepped out for some air. I thought about the first time she and I danced at a wedding. How tightly she held my hand. How certain everything once felt. Then I thought about now, the strange full-circle moment where I could look at her across the room and feel nothing pulling me back. That was a true ending. Not the box, not the closed door, not even the conversation we had weeks after she left. It was that glance from across the room. Both of us knowing the chapter had written its own final sentence. A few people asked if I wanted to join them for drinks. I said yes. As I stepped outside the venue, I glanced back one last time. Cindy was still inside, surrounded by familiar faces, but no longer in focus. I turned toward the street, hands tucked in my pockets. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like anything was missing. Not her words, not her presence, not even a silence, just peace. And that was more than